at some point we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live almost every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you'd like to support this project, check out eplex.store. There are brand new items that are available only to our monthly members, our Pride items this year for just a couple weeks. They'll be members only. And this year's theme for our Pride items is Rainbow Disco Goats. And
Totes, my goats.
Yeah, that's actually a tote bag on there that says Totes my goats. So
I was inspired by that.
That's a good one. Other ways to support us are easy enough to find at echoplexmedia.com. Just click the support link at the top and give me your fucking money because I like to make curry and not starve. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
What's up, everybody? This is the Councilman. You can find me if you're looking for me. But if you really want to find me, check me out on X/Twitter/Elon Musk's wet dream. You can catch me at THE_Councilman, as always. I'm getting a little frosty lately, so you might enjoy it.
I never see any. I see that thing is so fucked up. It's like here, I click the following tab and it just shows me the same 5 people's tweets over and over again. I like those 5 people, but I never see your stuff unless you tag me in it. But then I see it in my notifications. That shit is broken as fuck. Then if you go to the For You tab, it's just a random collection of racists and anti-vaxxers and grifters.
Well, for you, maybe. I'm getting nothing but Filipino food and tiddlywinks.
Oh, really? That's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's lovely. I think it's just because I only like things about adobo and sprinkles. Oh. Yeah. So try that. I think you engage with all the the lowest common denominator of society. So I think that Twitter is basically telling you it thinks you want to talk to these people constantly.
Well,
so
I do, but
them back to you.
I do, but I don't click the For You tab ever because I know that it is not a good use of my time to continue to call Steven Crowder names.
It is not for you, in other words.
Right. And I just use Steven Crowder as an example. I'm quite sure he blocked me.
I'm sure he did. We can check anytime. But first, we have a docket to get to, Producer Dave, for the people.
Right. And we got 2 stories on leading off this week. What's the first one?
Well, we got 2 stories because we took a week off, and there's been a story that's just been dominating local politics here in Santa Clara County and San Mateo County in the recount effort in California Congressional District 16, which was spurred, as we all know, by supporters of Sam Liccardo, who came in first and really wasn't to benefit either of the candidates who tied for second and were advancing to the runoff because neither one of them wanted to have a recount because they were both in, right? So anyway, it's been about a 2-week process. As of today, it's been 2 weeks that both counties have been counting. They are just about done. I'll have an update on that in a little bit after we have these news hits. The first of which being He Speaks, the person behind the recount who requested the recount, who said up and down on X and other social media that he would be making one statement about all of this, which he made, and then proceeded to make more statements. And now he's making statements to the press. So he just can't seem to shut up, and we're going to listen to what he has to say on NBC Bay Area.
Today, the recount at the Santa Clara County Registrar of Voters is winding down. Officials say they expect it'll wrap up tomorrow morning. For the past few days, staff have been doing something called reconciling votes. Basically, since the votes are counted in batches, they're finding the votes for this election from those batches, matching them to the correct precinct, and then recounting them.
It's not lost, and it's not we just found some in a shoebox somewhere. We're reconciling and pulling them from the different batches to make sure that they're in the correct precinct before we can say anything or any results.
This is mind-boggling. The county told us last Monday, a week ago, that they would be done last Tuesday.
Jonathan Padilla is the man who requested the recount in the 16th congressional race, where more than 180,000 votes were cast. The first count determined Sam Liccardo will move on to November, and Joe Simidian and Evan Lowe were tied for second. Padilla is upset the recount is taking so long. It's also costing the super PAC he's working with an estimated $12,000 a day to fund.
The pace of counting has dramatically slowed down. We were doing 40 to 50 precincts a day. Thursday was 3, Friday was 2. They're still charging the same amount. There's real issues with that.
10 years ago, he helped run Sam Liccardo's mayoral campaign in San Jose. Now he's a tech CEO. Many questions have been raised about who is funding the super PAC that's footing the bill, so I asked Padilla about it.
There's been absolutely no talks with Mr. Liccardo or his campaign, anybody on the campaign. This is done completely without any of their knowledge. And, they even want us to do things we're not necessarily willing to do right now, like reveal the donors. We're going to do that following FEC guidelines in mid-July.
As for the recount, voting officials say an additional 7 ballots have been accepted and counted in this process. San Mateo County is done, but Padilla's attorneys challenged 16 ballots that are still in envelopes there. Those were originally rejected because they arrived late. He's challenging another 16 in the South Bay for the same thing.
We don't know who they are. It doesn't matter who they're for. Like, the matters is they should be counted.
In San Jose, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
He's like, I'm issuing all these challenges to the process. Why is the process taking so long?
Seriously, I mean, and if he had requested a hand recount, as he originally had requested, it would be taking much longer. It'd probably take a whole month, frankly. So, yeah, the fact that they allowed him to adjust to a machine recount, right, which lowered his costs, although it's not his costs, let's face it, he should just be content, not look the proverbial gift horse in the mouth, and wait for the process to play out. But instead, he's playing the media, and he's playing the world's tiniest little violin, and just trying to get more attention to himself, because he's a sycophant. That's pretty much what's going on here. And he's willing and able to do anything that Mr. Liccardo or his minions beckon, because he's just so anxious to please, right? And I know, Producer Dave, I could hear the clickety clack of your keyboard frantically looking at or Googling snickerdoodle.com.
No, I actually don't care.
Right. I think you might enjoy if you go to Mr. Padilla's Twitter feed and his business's feed. He's into all sorts of fun stuff, blockchain, and I think Snickerdoodle has something to do with I don't know, retargeting or social search engine optimism, whatever, the special sauce of Silicon Valley. Anyway, this is pretty disgusting. This guy is totally full of shit. It's very clear. And whether or not he had any coordination with Liccardo, this is obviously on Liccardo's behalf. But the good news in the second story is that more than likely they are going to have to pay for it, and they're not going to get reimbursed for the effort. And we've got more on that from our local news as well.
Fuck yeah.
Let's hear about that.
Election workers in the South Bay have been recounting ballots for a week now, and we're still waiting for the updated results in the race for District 16. The recount comes after an historic tie between Assemblymember Evan Lowe and Supervisor Joe Simidian, with former Mayor Sam Liccardo leading the race. Now, officials say whoever requested this recount is not getting their money back, even if there is a change in the candidates' positions. KTVU South Bay reporter Jesse Gary joins us now live at the Santa Clara County Registrar of Voters tonight to explain. Jesse.
Julie, good evening to you. The California Secretary of State had to make an interpretation of a little used law. Her ruling means that the tens of thousands of dollars that are being put up to fund this recount will not be reimbursed. This as the recount continues. In a cramped, cubicle-filled room inside the Santa Clara County Registrar of Voters, the painstaking task of a rarely seen recount is done under the gaze of onlookers, representatives of Evan Lowe and Joe Simidian, looking and challenging any and all irregularities.
The votes have been counted. They're now being recounted. I think in relatively short order we'll have a final count, a final recount. And until then, you just wait and watch and hope for the best.
7 days after the start of the recount, Simidian is ahead by 1 vote in Santa Clara County.
There are always ballots that are set aside because something can't be verified. And now with the recount, we're going back and looking at all of those.
San Mateo County officials are performing a similar task in a congressional district that spans the 2 counties.
Recount is going really well. We are progressing quickly, and we're doing our best to make sure that everything is done properly.
Santa Clara spokesman Steve Goltiao says his registrar had to appeal to the California Secretary of State over the issue of reimbursement for the cost of the recount. Former Liccardo campaign staffer Jonathan Padilla is ponying up $32,000 a day just to learn he won't get a cent back.
So there's a provision in Election Code 15624.
If the recount drops someone off the ballot, no reimbursement, because it's not the same as adding a new person to the ballot based on the results of the recount. It's a technical difference, but obviously there's a lot of money at stake. So no one has ever seen anything like this before.
Currently, frontrunner Sam Liccardo, Simidian, and Lowe are all headed to a political collision in November. But a single vote could break the tie for second place and leave either Simidian or Lowe on the outs.
When the law was written, it wasn't really anticipated that there would be a recount in a case like this where there's a tie for second.
Oh, no, we finished.
Officials here say the recount could wrap Friday, at which point they'll certify the results, send it off to the Secretary of State for a stamp of approval. San Mateo County would do the same. No response from Evan Lowe or his campaign, but the end of the recount may not be the end of this issue because there's been a complaint filed with the Federal Elections Commission over the financing behind the recount, and that could wind up in court. We're live outside the Registrar of Voters here in San Jose. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News. Julie, back up to you in Oakland.
All right.
So I liked that guy that he had two pairs of sunglasses, one that was actually sunglasses and one that was a tie clip. And then in addition to his tie, he had a brooch that was a bow tie. And so I just liked that he had two sets of glasses and two ties. I thought that was
very classy. Very classy. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. So 30. We heard in the previous story 12,000 a day. We heard in this story 32,000 a day. It's actually closer to 24,000 a day, all told between the two counties, from what I've heard. So both of those stories had it wrong. But still, if you do the math, you're looking at upwards of $300,000 that's been spent just to do the recount itself. Not to mention all the money that's been spent by the campaigns, the respective campaigns on their attorneys, and all those poll watchers. So it's just a mess. And it didn't need to happen, and it is going to end up more than likely pushing someone off the ballot in November, because as of today, it has Santa Clara County has finished their count. They have finished their count of all those questionable ballots as well, and San Mateo County only has those 16 ballots that Mr. Padilla is challenging. Damn it, it's taken so damn long. They only have those left to verify in terms of the postmark date. Before they can count them. And once they do, then they will be done, whether they count them or not. But right now, Evan Lowe is up by 4 votes. So it could very well be that those 16 extra ballots, even if they were all counted, don't have the ability to flip that margin. And it looks as though Evan is in very decent shape to be going forward to the runoff. And Joe Simidian may be the one who's left on the outside, but you never know. Strange things happen. So we'll see what happens with that final count. Probably hear about it tomorrow. We do not have any report live here in Downballot, unfortunately. But as producer Dave has noted before, whoever misses out is going to be right pissed, and they're going to have a reason. They're going to have a damn good reason to be. And there's going to be no shortage of opportunity to, pay for independent expenditures or any kind of other campaign work that will be used to hinder Sam Liccardo's efforts, let's just say, because he is the linchpin of all of this, right? Whether or not the person missing out jumps on board with the other, second place contender who actually got through in a sort of active way, up to them. But you can be guaranteed that they are not happy with Mr. Liccardo right now, and they're going to do everything they can to keep him from winning, even if it means the other person, their other competitor winning. Who might just be more tolerable to them at this point. Although the devil himself or herself might be more tolerable than Sam Liccardo to Joe Simidian right now.
Right. I mean, this is just a bad look, for the Liccardo people, because it's one thing to be a sore loser. It's another thing to be like a shitty winner.
Yes. And just to be using all of is everything they're doing legal? Yeah. It's absolutely 100% legal. They're totally within their rights to do this. Does it look bad? Is it silly? Is it stupid? Is it wasteful? Is it gonna could it actually backfire and could they end up shooting themselves in the foot? Is it sketchy? Is it not transparent? Is it just good old political gamesmanship? Absolutely, that's what's going on here, and that's really what's frustrating a lot of people is that no one's just being fucking honest about it, right? Liccardo is just saying, "Oh, I have nothing to do with this," and Padilla, the sycophant, is saying, "Oh, Liccardo, my old boss, who I'm still supporting, had nothing to do with this, right?" And he's out there, flaunting his startups, branded jacket on this news hit. After we could show the post, producer Dave, like his 2 weeks ago, he was getting a lot of shit from us, people who know him in the Democratic sphere, because he is a Democrat somehow. And he posted on his own socials that this would be this is the only time I'm going to say anything about this, but you guys are all wrong, and this is about democracy and blah, blah, blah. But he said, this is the only time I'm going to talk about it. And he just has proceeded to continue talking about it. He's like Trump. He can't shut up. talk about it, and now he's on TV talking about it with his, his company's logo, flaunted on the news hit, right? So, can't trust this guy, can't trust Liccardo, can't trust anything behind this whole mess. But I'm just really glad that they're going to have to pay for it, and they're not getting reimbursed, and they're not going to be able to use legal maneuvering to get their money back, no matter what happens. And they might end up running against their worst nightmare, Evan Lowe. They do not want to run against Evan head to head. They really don't. He is a fierce competitor. And,
and like I said, it's just, not only are they gonna, if Evan Lowe does end up winning, not only are they going to end up against who I think is like the stronger of the two candidates, maybe in a general, but now the other person's supporters maybe are going to be a little less inclined to even really think about, like, they're going to be like, oh, well, these people pulled some shady shit, so I'm going to go vote for the people who didn't pull some shady shit, actually.
Right. Or they just don't vote, right? They just like, oh, I don't want to, I was inclined to vote for this guy, but he's shady. That's nasty. Well, I don't really like this Evan Lowe guy. I don't like gay Asians. So, whatever. I'm just going to vote. I'm going to vote nothing. I'm going to vote no, none of the above. But that hurts Liccardo, right? That hurts him. If anyone who was inclined to support him doesn't, whether they're voting for Evan or they're not voting, that hurts. I think this could be the worst nightmare for Sam, whether or not he intended to or wanted to run. I don't know who he would prefer to run against, but by doing the recount in the first place, he was absolutely trying to set this up as a head to head. So he had to have a preference based on his own polling that he did, right? So I guess he is, maybe he did figure that Evan would be a easier or better opponent.
That's weird too, because you'd think in a three-way that like Sam would capture like the sort of corporate Democrat vote, and Joe and Evan would split the progressive vote, and that it would almost be like a mirror, like that Evan and that like the Lowe and Simidian would be basically tied again, and Sam would be just out ahead of them with the more kind of corporate Democrat vote, and possibly Republicans even.
Yeah, you can absolutely make that case. I think it's a very good, very strong case, frankly. I think Simidian could have pulled a little more from Liccardo's base and that more conservative Democrat base, but not, like you're saying, the corporate tech bro, Mark Anderson, Peter Thiel kind of money, right? And also Republicans too, right? At the end of the day, I think Joe might get a few just because they've been around long enough and he's been around forever. But Sam would probably pull a lot of that Republican support. So then, you're looking at like a split on the other side. But now Evan has that lane pretty much to himself, and the progressive lane is pretty big in that district. There's a lot of really staunchly progressive communities, ton of Asian American communities, ton of Chinese American communities. I think he lines up really well. And he's young. He's younger. He's only 40. He's just got more energy and more vitality and more just everything than Joe was going to have. And that was evidenced by Joe's campaign materials, right? They were just everything was about trying to like, go Joe, exclamation point. Like Joe's exciting, right?
Almost like the Jeb campaign, but for Joe.
Right. And Joe's always been, and no knock against him. It's just who he is, but Joe's always been boring, right? He's a policy guy. He's a policy wonk, and policy wonks are boring. And he's always been boring when he was younger. So that's just who he is. So, and again, no fault to him. I love wonks. I love boring people, but it's hard to get elected in this day and age as a boring person. So, you have to be exciting, and Evan is exciting, and he had great TV ads that moved obviously enough people to make this happen for him. So, kudos to him. I mean, I think it's a tremendous, if he gets through, and it's him on Sam. Whether or not he wins at the end of the day, it's a tremendous victory for him to get this far, coming from where he started.
All right, so let's move on to winners and losers, where there are no winners unless y'all were rooting for somebody and then they probably lose. Yeah, this is just a kind of a funny story. This is probably the most down-ballot-y story of the week. Adam Schiff came to the Bay Area to do a fundraiser and got his car broken into. Let's go ahead and check out what the local Fox affiliate has to say about this.
Car of U.S. Senate candidate Adam Schiff was burglarized in San Francisco. Schiff's car...
I wish you would have used the word burgled. I just like the word burgled better than burglarized.
in the downtown parking garage when his luggage was stolen. Now here you see Adam Schiff in Burlingame. He was speaking at a campaign event. While everyone else was dressed more formally, Schiff was wearing a shirt and vest. The rest of his clothing were inside the stolen luggage.
Wait, they just stole his in Burlingame?
Yeah, right. Like, are things that desperate in Burlingame? I mean, he was going there for money, so it can't be that bad. But I actually feel really most awfully for I mean, he's an affable candidate. He's been around a long time. He's been in the public eye. He can certainly play that off. And there's so many things you can say that to play that off if you could arrive in your life preserver vest and and t-shirt, especially if your car got burgled, right? Like, no problem. But the poor gal on the bottom left in that photo who was like mid dumpling insertion into her mouth, right? When the photo was taken. And that photo is probably the only photo that's being publicized from this event, right? So immortalized for all time in the news is mom or whoever, wife or friend or daughter. Like,
I mean, maybe it's a good ass dumpling though. Maybe it's a moment that one would want to cherish.
It better be. She's definitely not paying attention to Adam Schiff, so it's got to be some kind of dumpling. Not that Adam Schiff is like a level above boring, right? Like he's definitely a wonk. He's definitely one of those, but he's got a little bit of the X factor, so he's a bit above boring, but he's still kind of Melba toast. I think Katie, if you really want excitement, Katie Porter or Barbara Lee would have been much more exciting in that race, but the voters have spoken.
All right, up next we got Antioch School District employees are being harassed by people because this is what people do now, I guess. Well, here's how we do politics now. We like harass the people that work for the fucking schools. So let's see what's going on up there in Antioch. As if they don't have enough fucking problems up there in Antioch as it is.
That's what the good wife and I were saying when we saw this story.
A last-minute change of plans in Antioch. It was supposed to be a special meeting for the school board, but it turned into a community session. This is all about the superintendent of Antioch and allegations of bullying within her staff. This is a story that we broke last week, and in light of our investigation, the school board president is calling on the superintendent to resign. NBC's Pete Serratos has the details.
A special closed session meeting for the Antioch School Board did not go as planned, with 3 school board members not showing up. But it did provide a space for residents to express their concerns regarding bullying claims against district employees.
Yes, this is no longer an official school board meeting.
With only 2 school board members present for tonight's closed session meeting, the Antioch School Board did not reach quorum to discuss the future of its superintendent, Stephanie Anello. Last week, our investigative unit uncovering bullying claims by the Antioch Unified School District Director of Facilities, Maintenance and Operations, Kenneth Turnage. Our investigation confirming at least 10 employee complaints about Turnage, including this one, where he directed 2 workers to move an employee's desk to a rooftop.
Wait, what?
To allegedly publicly humiliate him. And those making the claims believe Turnage's close relationship with the superintendent and her husband, former Antioch Police Chief Alan Cantonato, is why he...
Oh, this just keeps getting better, doesn't it?
Right?
Cop's wife's friend starts harassing random employees and making them work on the fucking roof of a portable building.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even add this to the docket. It's just sort of jumped onto the docket. Like, I need to be on Downballot tonight, this story.
You're like, how did that link get there? I guess I should add a description.
Right? Like, what is this? It's weird. I'm going to check it out. It's a yellow link. What's a yellow link?
Been properly disciplined.
We know that if things are going to change, it starts at the very top.
Following our investigation, School Board President Antonio Hernandez called tonight's special meeting to discuss the performance of the superintendent, who he feels needs to resign for mishandling these cases.
I was horrified at these things that our employees are going through. That's not the kind of school district that I want. That's not the kind of school district that our employees deserve.
It's time for everybody to make a change and get it together. Come in love, come in peace.
And with the lack of quorum, the meeting...
Come in peace or leave in pieces.
With dozens of speakers expressing their concerns about these claims.
Nothing was done, and we begged and begged for help.
Kim Atkinson was one of the district employees who came forward with bullying claims in our investigation. Says the report. She says the past week has been rough, but seeing the community support tonight gives her hope that her story could lead to changes.
So proud. I can't even put into words how proud I am and how brave they were to be here tonight and speak from their hearts.
In response to our investigation, Anello is calling for an independent investigation into the bullying claims and will remove herself from any of the investigative proceedings. NBC has reached out to 3 board members not in attendance tonight, and they have not responded. We have also reached out repeatedly to Anello, her husband, and Turnage, but no response as of this report. As for the next steps by the school board regarding the future of the superintendent, board member Dr. Jagwanana Lathan, one of the 2 school board members at tonight's meeting, had this to say.
We have a board meeting May 8th. I encourage people to come and express their same concerns and to make demands that leadership changes.
In Antioch, Pete Serratos, NBC Barrier News.
Ooh, Antioch's not having a great time of it lately, are they?
It is a spicy place to be right now, yes. And I just love the twisted web that goes from the police department to the school district, right? Through this this marriage of convenience of these tortured souls. Have you ever had any hazing or bullying happen to you in a workplace environment, Producer Dave?
Nothing like... Yeah, I mean, I worked in customer service for a while, and people will fuck with you a little bit there. But most of the time, it was like funny, and like it wasn't like, oh, your desk's actually on the roof of a portable building now, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It was, it was just funny stuff. Just sort of things that you do maybe to get into somebody's way. Maybe you just stand, just little, not to say that I probably did my fair share of that shit too.
You ate their leftover lunch, their leftover sandwich from the fridge, something like that. Yeah, no, this is puff the pail. I can't believe that this was allowed to go on for so long, but it makes perfect sense when your superintendent's sleeping at the wheel and is best friends with the asshat who's doing it, and they're all connected, or she's married to the former police chief at a department that's just been, just wrought with, racists and bigotry and injustice. So this is one twisted little city you got going on there, Antioch. I feel really bad for the residents who are just like, what the fuck just happened, man? It's got to feel like PTSD.
But this could also be a situation where a lot of this stuff's going down because there maybe isn't a lot of civic engagement because it's kind of like a suburban place.
Yeah. These things fester for a long time. So, I mean, real quick, not to get too deep into it, but with this board president, right, tried to found out what was going down, and rightly so, tried to call a special meeting to talk about it. And 3 board members who were loyal to the superintendent, or just didn't want to deal with it, didn't show up, right? So they couldn't have a quorum. They couldn't have a meeting because there's 5 board members and you need at least half plus 1. So they couldn't even have a legit meeting, right? But this guy's trying to do the right thing, and the rest of his board is too chicken shit to do anything. In addition to that, the only real power that school boards have is hiring and firing their superintendent, right? They theoretically get to review their superintendent's contract, and they're the ones that hire that superintendent. And then the superintendent hires everyone else and does all of the employee management themselves, right? But the board is supposed to be overseeing and watching their house. But that basic responsibility does not happen on a regular basis in almost any district. There's even districts where I know that, there have been board members who have come on board and wanted to, review the superintendent and hold them accountable. But there weren't even processes like the superintendent or their attorney or themselves or, in their contract built in protections so that they're pretty much, they don't have tenure, right, quote unquote, but they're pretty much protected against any kind of review, right? They can just go on ad nauseum until they decide until their contract runs out, or they decide they want to leave their contract. And the board has no power whatsoever, right? Even though they might want to do, even if a board majority wanted to do something. So that's the real, secret underbelly of school boards and how school governance is in California, at least, is that the superintendents have all the power, and they either control their boards, right? They manipulate their boards into following their will, or they neutralize their boards by getting themselves so entrenched in their job that they can't be removed from it, right? And if there's any sort of controversy, they just move on, and they're easily hired by other districts, right? I've seen superintendents that left one district in disgrace and were hired by another district in the same area for salaries in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So failing up is definitely a thing in this world, and it's sad to see.
Yeah, well, like I said, it just seems like Antioch can't really catch a break in any of these news stories.
Well, who we say always is that, especially with school districts, right? Are the real losers? It's the kids, right?
Right.
The kids and the residents and the people, the taxpayers, people are paying for these schools, whether they have kids there or not, right? It's all of us. We're the ones that get screwed, and that's why we cover these things, so we let you know you're being screwed, so that hopefully we can do something about it collectively. But it doesn't solve anything like in the near term, right? We're still getting screwed.
Well, up next we have another thing about schools. This is in San Jose. This is actually, I think it's pretty funny.
It's adjacent. It's related.
So don't always trust the head of the PTA, and here's why from NBC Bay Area.
He seems so nice.
Disheartening story involving a South-based school community. The PTA president is accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from the school. NBC's Ian Cole has the exclusive new details on the arrest and investigation.
The parents at Schallenberger Elementary School in San Jose say they're disgusted after hearing the former president of their home and school association allegedly stole more than $400,000 from the school's account. Prosecutors claim the theft happened over 4 years when she was the group president. 51-year-old Taysa Knight was arrested by San Jose police Tuesday. Investigators say between 2019 and 2023, Knight wrote 45 checks to herself and her husband.
Now, these were supposed to be reimbursement checks for services that weren't even rendered, right? So she had invoices that weren't true, weren't real.
The investigation began when Knight left her position on the board last summer. Melissa Martin is one of the new board members who took over and noticed serious discrepancies. That's when the board contacted San Jose Unified and then police.
Things really didn't add up. Money spent didn't add up to what we knew programming had cost over the years. And as we dug into it, just money was missing.
It's money that kids and parents fundraise for all year to fund arts, music, and other programs. Martin says the missing money meant science and recess programs were canceled at the start of the school year, and they had to delay giving teachers stipends for their classrooms. After a 9-month investigation, parents say Knight was arrested on Tuesday shortly after leaving campus.
I was glad to see that the investigation had gotten to that point, and that the police and the DA's office had done their due diligence to finally bring charges.
While Knight gave up her position on the board last year, she still worked at the school as an office specialist. She faces 3 felony counts for grand theft and forgery. She's being held on $80,000 bail. In San Jose, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
So it's like as she walked off of campus, so she was still like involved in the school during this investigation?
More than likely, I probably had a kid at the school still. That's her involvement, right? That's how they get into the PTA in the first place, is through their kid, because they are looking out for their child's education, Producer Dave. They want to make a contribution. They want to help support their child and the other kidren. So they do the PTA thing. This is rare. This doesn't happen a lot. So we shouldn't make it out like this is some sort of rampant problem. But PTAs and these organizations can, especially in cases like Schallenberger and Buxton and other schools, sort of in that Willow Glenny, Almadeny, hoity-toity, affluent kind of neighborhoods where the parents have a lot of time and a lot of money to contribute. These organizations raise like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to support the school with, additional funding for like arts teachers, right? And shit that the school can't afford, right? Paper for the fucking copier, right? Although most schools get enough paper. Anyway, long story short, they raise a shit ton of money, right? And so they're very, I don't want to say they're not regulated at all. They're supposed to be regulated. They're supposed to follow certain rules. They have to follow certain rules to be a connected organization with the school in the first place. but very easily fungible, and very easily, it's very easy to obfuscate and to for something like this to happen, for fraud like this to happen. I can speak from knowing firsthand and seeing it happen, for not seeing this happen, but seeing how it could happen. It's very easy. And not just PTAs, any kind of small nonprofit where there's a lot of money going around and there's really only like one or two people who, or maybe one person who knows what's going on, right? And cuts all the checks and does all the bookkeeping. The opportunity's there. And this Karen, obviously I was waiting for her name to be Karen. It had to be with that picture. Took advantage of it. And again, who misses out? The kids.
The kids, as always. So, and not for nothing, like $400,000 over 4 years is like a lot of that's a lot of money.
It's significant. I mean, you would think that someone would notice, but it's you're dealing with a board of directors of this. Basically, it's nonprofit, right? This PTA, whether or not they're processing the money or not, but you're dealing with a board of directors. It's all volunteers. They're all parents, right, and teachers, but mostly parents. Most of whom are not schooled in finance or, financial compliance, and certainly not nonprofit finance or fundraising or any of those things. So they don't know what to do looking at a balance sheet, right? I didn't know what to do looking at a balance sheet the first time I joined a board, right? I had to learn all that shit. And by the time you learn it all, then this shit happens, right? And sure enough, all it took was a new board president coming in to be like, wait a second, like now someone's actually looking deeply into the books, right? Wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. Hey, why does that add up, right? So eventually someone does notice, but yeah, it's not that hard, even with big chunks of money for something like this to happen. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Reimbursing oneself is like, that should just be like an immediate like red flag to the other people in the organization. Like if you spent your own money or whatever, there's some kind of agreement about like if you do a certain kind of work, you're paid as a contractor. Maybe somebody else in the organization should have to look over it and write the fucking check instead of you just being like, oh, 10 for me, 0 for the school, 20 for me, 0 for the school.
Right. They're supposed to be tracking all this stuff for a report. Like they're supposed to get audited, which is another, they would have caught this eventually is what I'm saying. I mean, they would have found, the school or someone would have found this eventually. So I'm surprised that they were so brazen and stealing that much money. Like maybe if it was a smaller amount, they may not have caught it, but this was going to get caught eventually because they do audits. They do have to have a paper trail of some sort. The only way they'd get away with it if there wasn't an audit, if the district was behind, right, on their audit work, which is not entirely implausible given the shortage of staff. That's what could let it go on or be undiscovered. And by the time it's discovered, like too late, right? You're not getting the money back anyway. I don't know if they're getting the money back here either. They might have spent it all. Who knows? They might have gone to Vegas or renovated their house. Who knows? It's all gone. But yeah, it would seem like a lot. There's just not enough people minding the fort. They do have to have paper trails that they're supposed to, but again, who's asking, right?
So in more news of San Jose, Mayor Ed 209 helped install a license plate scanner, which is totally on brand and in character for him. Let's see if the news has any negative things to say about this, or if they're just like, oh, what a great guy. What a great guy.
Residents in the Plata Arroyo neighborhood of East San Jose love where they live, but they worry about their safety.
We've had shootings, we've had murders, we've had auto theft, we had tons of crime. So the quality of life issue that we need in the East Valley, that's what this is helping us with.
This is one of the 500 flock safety automated license plate readers being installed throughout San Jose. It aims to make this neighborhood safer, just like other cameras have done across the city.
Our ALPR network has helped our officers catch suspects with ghost guns, drugs, stolen packages, outstanding warrants for rape and domestic violence, and even a group of teens responsible for 60 vehicle break-ins.
The cameras take a picture of the back of a car to identify the make, model, color, and license plate characters. When a crime occurs, police use the cameras to search for these identifiers to solve the case.
These cameras make a difference by helping to identify and apprehend suspects
curbing criminal activity, and providing crime victims with a feeling of closure and justice.
The video is retained for 365 days. That's 10 times longer than most cities that use flock cameras. And privacy expert Mike Katz-Lacabe worries the longer a video is kept, the higher the risk.
Not only of the information being compromised, but for the ability of someone who has access to that to abuse it. And the fact is, we do not have good mechanisms of oversight that would actually review the logs of who's accessed it and what for to determine whether or not there's abuse.
SJPD Acting Chief Paul Joseph says the cameras are never used for immigration control or other non-investigatory causes that would impact privacy. He says they're used to solve crimes and make the community feel safe, like here in Plata Arroyo.
We're not afraid to go up and down Alum Rock Avenue because our community has been fighting for these protections, and slowly but surely and financially, they've been coming.
In East San Jose, Dustin Dorsey, ABC 7 News.
Yeah, fuck these license plate cameras.
Yes, agreed. Fuck all of these cameras. Fuck the red light cameras. Fuck the speeding cameras. Fuck all of them. Like, do your job, police.
Well,
stop creating a surveillance state where all this data is where? Like, where is it stored? In some sort of secure server? No. Government server that could be hacked at any time.
Well, I'm not so much worried about what a hacker is going to do with it, right? I'm worried about like what people who are going to get this information through legal means are going to do with it, right? like are they selling this metadata? Like they probably say they aren't, but that doesn't mean they aren't. You know, who fucking knows? Like, what about the company that's running all this? Because it's not like this is it's not like the city's running all of this, right? They contracted somebody out for like the cloud services and all that on this, and those people have access to this data, like, and they're keeping it for a fucking year.
Yep, very important. Got to have access.
Like a year?
Yeah, that's a lot. I take it. In the data world,
no, most of these places keep it for most, like any of this stuff gets kept for like a month,
right? And then, right, unless it's used for something, right, or evidence or whatever. Yeah, yep. I'm not super enthused about driving on the east side right now. But again, all the lovely east side council members and officials stand up behind Mayor Ed 209. Because they have to look good on public safety and crimes too, right? They have to look like they're being tough on crimes, or they're going to get ousted, even by their own folks, the people that support them, people from the community. Their gente, right? They will oust them in a minute as soon as their car starts getting broken into, right? Because it's their fault.
I also I'm just not sure that these are, you know, okay, well, this information was used or whatever in the process of, you know, a stolen car ring or whatever, but they don't mention like that. Was this pivotal, or was it just like one other thing that was used in the, you know, discovery of this car theft ring or whatever? And if it was just one other thing, would they have, you know, uncovered this car theft ring without violating everyone's privacy who happens to drive through that fucking neighborhood? Like, I don't know, like, are they, oh man, because there's so much stuff attached to your license plate, like your DMV information is like, there's all kinds of personal information that is associated with your license plate, and that should be fine, right? Because that's why you have a license plate on your car.
Sure. And it's public, right? Technically. Yeah, but it is an invasion. You're not doing anything wrong, right? There's nothing. You're not doing anything suspect necessarily. You're not doing anything but just driving through a neighborhood, and the camera captures, right? It's not like you're speeding or you ran a red light or any of that, right? It just grabs your information, and stores it for a year, and you didn't do anything. You didn't request that. You didn't do anything to merit that. Even you didn't even do anything to be suspected of meriting doing that. So much like facial recognition and other tools, right? It's pre-crime. It's trying to capture people before they commit crimes, trying to profile a community before it, without cause, without justification.
And it's like as if there weren't enough other gross, you know, violations of your privacy. I know people like, oh, you have a constitutional right to privacy. No, you don't. It doesn't say that anywhere, actually.
Nope.
But like already like your phone carrier's doing it. Fucking any app you got on your phone's doing it. Your fucking maybe even the person who manufactured your phone's doing it. Like now you got the city doing it. Like and they're like even deputizing people essentially who have a fucking Ring camera now, because if you don't specifically opt out, now your Ring camera is like accessible by by law enforcement. And like it's like, yo, like people people talk about London as being this massive surveillance state, but we're gonna catch up.
Oh, very much so. I mean, we're there in a lot of ways already, right? You know this. So, if anything, it's just that this is an area where we're a little squishier about it. And we do have people that subscribe to the ACLU newsletter and know a thing or two, right? So it's just harder to get these things implemented. But now the will is there, the public will is there. You know, people in Almaden and Willow Glen feel scared, right? So but notice the license plate readers are going up. You know, I don't know that they're not going up in Willow Glen. I don't know that they're not going up in Almaden. But the shining example that was used, the press conference, the big blockade of elected officials, Matt Mahan in his khakis and dress shirt up on a ladder. Ladder safety requires 2 people, by the way, and he was alone on that ladder, and no one was paying attention. He's up on the ladder.
Maybe nobody cares.
On the east side. On the east side, right? They made a whole deal about the east side and needing to, increase public safety. I don't hear about these things going in like in my hood, right? In my neighborhood. That's not happening here in affluent Rose Garden-ish San Jose, right? It's going on the east side. So that people like me in my neighborhood, people in Almaden, people in Willow Glen can feel safer, right? Because somewhere in the city, someone's getting busted because of these cameras, right? And they're not going to come to my neighborhood and do crime. So therefore, or somewhere else, they're not going to do crime to me somewhere else. So I feel safer in my little community now. Meanwhile, it's an entire community that's getting, once again, racially profiled and and segregated and surveilled again.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to get your shit together. And apparently this is about a panda. Usually our stories about animals go in and another thing. But
don't worry.
But I guess there was a plan to bring pandas to the San Francisco Zoo, and there's some problems. I wonder what the problems are. Let's check it out.
We'll find out.
Okay, getting those pandas from China here to San Francisco to the zoo won't be easy, and it comes with a little controversy as we're discussing.
I mean, I'd hate to be seated next to a fucking family of pandas in like economy class.
Not only does Mayor London Breed have to get the Board of Supervisors to allow her to raise money to make this happen, but one supervisor is questioning her priorities. NBC's Terry McSweeney has the
I bet you it's Aaron Peskin.
There's nothing like a panda in person.
That's Mayor Breed today, unable to contain her excitement about 2 giant pandas expected at San Francisco Zoo in the near future. That deal was announced during Breed's recent trip to China.
And we are going to get 2 giant pandas in San Francisco. We are so excited.
The mayor posting on X today that she is submitting a resolution to the Board of Supervisors that will allow a variety of city departments to raise money from philanthropy and private entities. Breed also says the project is moving full steam ahead.
We're talking with the representatives of the zoo, where we have some engineers from China that were here while I was in China to talk about where and what it would entail. We have an architect, we have people working on it.
But supervisor and candidate for mayor, Asha Safai.
Oh shit, you were wrong. I thought it was going to be Peskin too, just because I heard there was a fucking television camera somewhere.
Right, the other candidate
is tone deaf for announcing what could be a $25 million fundraiser in this time of massive budget cuts.
In the same breath, in the same couple days that they announced $24 million in cuts to essential after-school and youth programs.
Safai says the city should do what it did during COVID and work with the private sector to help pay the city's bills.
We're going to go out, we're going to work with just like we did during our most difficult times 3-4 years ago. We're going to raise that money, we're going to fill that gap. And by the way, let's go out and raise money to bring a panda to San Francisco. Why not?
Mayor Breed says if she gets the green light from the Board of Supervisors and is successful with the fundraising, those 2 giant pandas could be here at San Francisco Zoo by next year. And then she adds, but the sooner the better. In San Francisco, Terry McSweeney, NBC Bay Area News.
I don't care.
Sooner the better, producer Dave. Sooner the better.
So I have a couple problems. One, it's like, are the pandas going to enjoy the trip there? No. Like they're going to be stuck in this little tiny fucking cage, stuffed on an airplane that they don't understand. You're going to traumatize these fucking pandas for like no real. I mean, was it going to bring a bunch of people to the zoo? Okay, maybe it'll bring some people to the zoo. Are people going to enjoy it? Sure, but that's not really what a panda is for.
No. And they may be on a boat, but it doesn't make any difference, really. They're in a cage and they're in a box, and they're not going to be happy about this at all. And they're not going to be happy in a zoo anyway. I mean, these are wild creatures, right? Pandas are actually really wild creatures. Like they get around. They love their outdoors. And you're just, cramping them up, making them eat eucalyptus and get all high all day and just zone out, right? Like the koalas. This is so obviously I don't know the timing, whatever, but it's so obviously something, just an optical illusion that Mayor Breed pulls out of her ass because people are, there might be people out there that are pissed at her for being a bootlicker and trying to, forefront a police surveillance state in San Francisco. So she throws everyone a bone with the cute panda and tries to distract everybody and really trumps up this story to the point where now it's got to get done, right? And now, but one of her opponents is using it for himself as leverage for a free press hit. So now it's all coming back around full circle to bite her in the ass.
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just I don't understand. Can't they just borrow pandas from like a zoo that's closer by for a while?
I think there's something to do with the Chinese government having some sort of exclusive rights with giant pandas. I don't know exactly what it is, but anyway, there might be something going on there because they're an endangered species, and there might be some international law that oversees it. I don't know. That's a good question. I do know this, that it's definitely a very convenient way to just distract and to focus on something else. But I bet she thought this would be a lot easier, and she didn't think about. She didn't think any of her opponents, even Aaron Peskin, didn't have the balls to go up against the pandas, right?
Maybe he didn't hear there was a TV camera somewhere.
Well, or maybe he just feels like being anti-panda is a bad look, right? So Safai can go ahead and do it, take those hits, and he'll just sort of sit there and wait and see what happens, right? As the pro and the anti-panda coalitions clash, and Peskin can be there in the middle, just sort of waiting to pounce, right, on the undecideds and the blessed silent majority of people who don't really have an opinion about pandas.
He can be an enlightened panda centrist.
Precisely. A moderate panda.
A panda moderate. Oh
panda moderate. Man, there's an album name in there somewhere. We'll keep tracking the ordeal of the pandas. Or not, and we'll never cover this story ever again. And maybe that's what Mayor Breed wants, actually, is to never have it come up again until the pandas are here and everyone can go pet them, even though you shouldn't pet a panda.
Yeah, you don't touch the fucking panda.
They're vicious as fuck. Yeah, and be careful. Be careful, kids.
All right, well, we're going to move on to Downballot / recall watch. The first one we got here is the recall of the Alameda County DA. DA Price is going to happen. And it looks like the proponents of the recall want it to happen during a special election. I can't imagine why they wouldn't want it to happen during a bigger election.
I don't have any idea, but we'll find out more from NBC Bay Area, probably. Maybe.
The fate of the Alameda County District Attorney will soon be in the hands of voters. The question now, when will that election to potentially recall Pamela Price happen? NBC Bay Area's
I heard there's one in November we could
as recall supporters push for a quick special election, some voters are pushing back.
After securing enough signatures to let voters decide if DA Pamela Price should stay in office, the group behind the recall is now calling on the Board of Supervisors to set a special election date for July or August.
The recall of Pamela Price is coming. This is it.
We don't need to wait till November. There is not a timeline on life. And waiting till November is not an option. We need her to go right now.
Recall supporters believe the Board of Supervisors should have already set a date during last week's meeting. The board did not respond to a request for comment on that issue today, but the Registrar of Voters claims state law meeting requirements prevented the item from being discussed until April 30th to allow time for public notice. Supporters of DA.
Well, that's some Brown Act shit. Yeah. That's some Brown Act shit where you can't just put something on the agenda without like letting people know that it's going to be on the agenda. We talk about all the time, right? We're like, I had no idea this was happening, yet here I am.
I'm very offended that no one told me about the meeting at which I am speaking.
About the thing that nobody told me about.
Thing that nobody told me about.
Also showed up at today's rally calling a special election a waste of taxpayer money. They say they believe Price is delivering on her promises of accountability and justice while addressing over-incarceration rates, calling this pure politics.
Justice isn't just about locking somebody up for a crime. It's about getting it right. It's about having the proper evidence to convict somebody.
The crime problem will not be solved by this scapegoating of our district attorney, who actually is doing a lot for public safety.
But victims' families like Patricia Harris and James Purvis, whose 28-year-old son Jaron was killed in 2020, say despite voting for Price initially, they now believe her policies failed to get justice for their family. Instead, they say the person responsible for their son's death got reduced charges and has already been released.
Her words are not her actions. Fairness is fairness, but not to the extreme of just letting everything go. There's a difference. We're looking out for people that are being treated unjustly versus what she is doing.
It's why Recall supporters say they're pushing so hard for an immediate election date.
She has caused so much hurt, harm, and damage to Alameda County that any day that goes past is one day too many.
In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
So my guess is that the yes on the recall people don't want the no campaign to have an opportunity to message about it.
Yeah, or organize about it, but really it's the electorate. It's comes right down to who's voting, right? So you have a special election in June or July of it's an election year, but everyone already voted recently or was being harassed to vote in March, so no one's anticipating a vote, no one's expecting anything, and you're going to end up with the tiniest of the tiny electorates, the lowest common denominator, the conservative old white folks, right, who will be very susceptible to the message of recall. And the MAGA folks too. The most fervent folks are the ones that come out in special elections. So yeah, that would be a nightmare for DA Price, because it's very hard to motivate people to come out and defend someone. It's much easier to motivate them to come out and attack someone, and that's what the other side's going to be doing. So they absolutely want a special election. DA Price rightly wants this in November, with everyone else voting for everything else that they're going to vote for. And all those lovely progressives and people of color coming out to vote for her, despite whatever you might see from the faces that are being put forward by the proponents of the recall. I guarantee you the majority of the African American community is with DA Price. I would venture to guess that most of the Asian American community is with her. And all that's really happening here is a bunch of racist fucks who don't agree with criminal justice reform, trying to get their way because they didn't get it in a regular election, so now they want to get it in a special election. That's why they do the recall in the first place, right? Why would they do a recall if they felt like they could win in November, right? If they could win a regular election, they would just win a regular election. But none of them, they're all too chicken shit to run, and they're all too chicken shit to take on the real electorate. So hopefully the registrar and the Secretary of State and everyone else sees it in the county, sees it this way, and that it makes no sense to have a special election this close to the general election.
It would confuse people. People would think that they were getting mail about the general, I think.
Correct. And you're also wasting a ton of money. It's something where you'd be spending a bunch of money. It's like startup cost for any kind of print job, right? Like just doing the thing, right? Or getting your car fixed, right? Getting your car fixed, like the servicing, right? There's like a baseline, right, that you're going to be paying. And then beyond that, right, there's all the other things. Well, it's just like the same thing with this, right? You're putting out a ballot with one thing on it, right? So you have to do all the things that go into putting a ballot out there and running an election for one thing, when you could be doing it for all the things and save yourself a lot of time.
Right,
and money.
you're just adding you're adding a couple lines to the ballot.
Because you're still going to have to. You're creating an entirely new ballot, and then you're going to have a whole new ballot for the fall election, right? So you're doing it all again. So yeah, the regardless of how you feel values wise about what DA Price is doing or why these folks say they were trying to recall her, the good government and money saving, taxpayer dollar saving argument, I think that resonates across the board. It hits home with me because it's just silly. It's a silly waste. I wouldn't, there's nothing this woman did wrong. She's not breaking the law. She's doing her job. She's doing the job she said she was going to do in her election or campaign. She said exactly this, and she's doing this, and she's midterm, right? I don't understand why you can't wait and try to oust her during the regular election, except that you're trying to game the system. And that right there and the waste, I cannot get behind. I don't care what you think about DA Price. I'm supportive of her, but that's irrelevant. I think this is the dumbest fucking thing. I'm not the biggest Gavin supporter either, but the recall against him was ridiculous and stupid and wasteful, right? As much as I thought that they had a good case in some on values and his progress, right? But it wasn't recallable offense, and it was just a waste of my time and a waste of money and a waste of everyone's time. And it's so aggravating. Just like with the recount, it's another waste of time and money that could be spent doing other things. And these tool bags,
I can't I can't even imagine because we're a few months. It's not like we're a year out till the general. This general election going to sneak up on us.
Months. Yeah. There's probably some stipulation that allows for a special election within 180 days of them filing the signatures, so they could get it sooner, right? Or 90 days. I don't know what 120 days, maybe 4 months. So that's probably what they're using as their legal basis, but it makes no logistical common sense to do it now. But they could, legally, they might make the case if they push it far enough in court, they'll get it. And that would be the worst nightmare for DA Price, unfortunately.
So we're going to stay over there in the East Bay. It looks like Berkeley City Council might get a UC Berkeley undergrad as one of the council members. That seems pretty cool. Looks like it's a gal. Let's meet the gal who it could be.
Let's do that.
Well, a UC Berkeley student is set to make history as the first undergraduate student to win a seat on Berkeley City Council. The vote is expected to be certified in the coming days, but she has already declared victory with about 60% of the vote. Itai Hod spoke with the Cal senior about the importance of a student's perspective in politics.
While most politicians are familiar with the pressures of a campaign trail, Cecilia Luna Parra's experience was a bit more nuanced. Election day wasn't just a milestone in her political career. It was also the day her term paper was due.
I'm very happy and very excited, but it's all been a whirlwind.
A senior at UC Berkeley, her dream was to become a teacher. But instead of just studying history, she's making it.
I am the first undergraduate student to be elected to the city council, the first Latina to be elected to the city council, and the first openly queer woman of color.
At 22, she's won the seat to represent Berkeley's District 7, which includes the campus and much of the city's South Side neighborhood.
Students make up between a third and a fourth of the city's population. And we deserve a say in how the city's run. I'll just go after class.
A 2023 survey found that 41 million members of Gen Z will be eligible to vote this year, with 20% of them saying they would run for office.
We got all those posters.
Campaign manager Jonah Gottlieb, also a Berkeley student, says unlike previous generations, Gen Z voters are actually showing up to the polls.
Now combined, Gen Z and millennials are the largest voting demographic in the country. And we are the difference in so many campaigns.
Hi, I'm Cecilia Luna Parra.
Cecilia's platform reflects many of her generation's grievances: affordable housing, public safety, and tenant protections.
Some of our leaders refuse to take a stand against the human rights violations in Gaza.
She's also advocating for a permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, a divisive issue at the center of massive demonstrations and rising anti-Semitism on campuses across the country.
Wait, no. Wait.
On the day of our interview, she attended a pro-Palestinian protest on campus, which demanded the university financially divest from Israel.
There are so many people in our community that are hurting and that are demanding that our local government pass a ceasefire resolution.
For now, she's focused on juggling her last 2 classes and the demands of her new political life.
There is so much in my head, and it all feels very surreal.
And while most of her classmates will be off chasing their dreams, Cecilia is already living hers, right here in Berkeley.
And Luna Parr will fill the seat of former Berkeley council member Rajul Robinson, who resigned back in January. He was also 22 when he was elected in 2018, but he had already graduated from Cal.
So I didn't like the framing there of like they're talking about rising anti-Semitism on campus. This is just like incorrect. These protests are not anti-Semitic. In fact, some of the leaders at many of the universities are Jewish students, actually.
Yes. No, they're anti-war protests. They're pro-peace, pro-ceasefire, pro-human
and
protests.
You know, they catch like some student saying something stupid, and I'm like, well, that's a 19-year-old. Like, this person is not going to be the most articulate, and they're at a protest. They're angry. Like, you caught somebody saying something dumb. Oh, you caught a teenager saying something dumb, did you? Well, fucking congratulations. Like,
I've seen, there's just as many old people that say dumb things too. And so, yeah, the dumb things are not necessarily tied to your age. But yeah, point taken for sure. It's like we said, there's a Yahoo in every bunch, right? Every group. And someone's going to say the wrong thing at some point. Then if things get said, right? You're fired up.
Yeah. And you know, it's all really interesting, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. I actually try not to spend too much time on this issue on the channel. There's a lot of other channels doing a good job on this issue, and it's, you know, we're not like foreign policy. We don't really talk about it. My position on this is clear, but the anti-Semitism threat is a good deal rightward from where these protests are located on that fucking political spectrum. You don't, you know, we've had, you know, anti-Semitic attacks that have, you know, involved firearms and not chants. And those tend to come from fucking white supremacists. Not too many white supremacists in attendance at these pro-Gaza protests, actually, because white supremacists don't like the Palestinians because they're Arab. I didn't know if people knew that.
They're Arabs. They are colored. So watch out. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's, again, I will say it all the time. It's a shame that anti-Semitism gets lumped into being anti-war, right, or anti-Israel, even for that matter. You know, you can it's perfectly easy to, or it's perfectly legit to call out this government for their atrocities, and also not be, you know, hateful against any religion or people or any kind of group, right? It's just like calling out our government here in the United States. While we were not founded by, you know, the people, you know, like Christians, right, as a Christian haven, it's a very Judeo-Christian country, right, in terms of our rules, right, and our regulations and our founding documents. But, you know, I feel perfectly comfortable criticizing our government and then feel like I'm criticizing Jesus, right, or followers of Jesus.
Or for example, if Italy just started wilding out again, would that be anti-Catholic sentiment? Because there's a lot of Catholics in Italy.
Right, and then the Catholic Church is housed there, right, so not in Italy, but in the Vatican. But yeah, it's very similar. So I don't feel any problem calling them out or calling out our country. But for some, it's so fraught. It is so fraught.
And for the most part too, that this is not a. I mean, they don't think like. I don't think a lot of the protesters think they're going to have impact on the Israeli government outside of the fact that they think they can have impact on the United States government, and that the United States government would be able to put pressure on the Israeli government. Like that's the line of influence that is, even, you know, an 18-year-old student might not know that's the line of influence, or they might not be able to articulate that, but that's the line of influence. And I bet the organizers are pretty well aware of this. But good for her. I'm generally against cities getting into this, like having a resolution about a ceasefire or whatever, because it's the cities. It's not going to do anything. It's useless.
I don't think that she's going to be necessarily pushing for that either. The underlying story here that we hopefully don't miss is that she won.
She won.
This is great.
Handily,
a young
60%. 60% good.
Yeah, a young queer Latina trounced in this race, right? Granted, only 500 votes. So talk about special election, right? A district in Berkeley in a special election in April, like less than a month after we just voted, right, in a presidential election, like the lowest of lowest turnout, 500 votes. But she won. She did it. She got on there. Good on her.
And I'm surprised actually that this is Berkeley. She said she's the first Latino woman. That's surprising.
It's not necessarily surprising. Berkeley's had it's been fairly white for a long time. The city itself proper. Yeah, but there have been Latinos on the council,
men.
But Latinas apparently not, and apparently no queer Latinas either. So good on her. Again, good on her. This is a great story. I don't know, I'm sure she's going to do good and try to bring good progressive values to the council, and that's great. And there are other good progressives on that council that can support her and hopefully work with her and get some things done for students because they could use it. Maybe like something about People's Park. Who knows?
Yep, we'll see. We got one more here, and then another thing. We all remember this. I think everybody remembers this video. She's a great grandmother now. I think, and she stopped a robbery. I think she used a golf club or some shit to stop.
We had it on Downballot. We had the original, I think, viral video on Downballot. Maybe another thing. I don't know. But
golf club or her cane or something. But now she's running for office. Let's see what office she's running for. I mean, I'm inclined to support her, but let's see what she has to say.
Be safe.
These days, 77-year-old Faye Taylor's German Shepherd Troy is more interested in sniffing around than springing into action, like he did in October of 2022. Who could forget the viral moment when Taylor, who prefers to be called Miss Faye, spotted an older woman getting dragged for her purse outside her West Oakland home? Miss Faye came running out, hollering, even throwing her cane at the assailant who speeds away.
Were you scared at all to jump in? Because most of the time...
She's like, nope, come in peace or leave in pieces.
I never thought about it. The fear never crossed my mind.
This great-grandma's quick thinking drew recognition from then-Mayor Libby Schaaf and then the nation. Here she is as a guest on the Drew Barrymore Show.
Why did you want to spring into action like that?
Because I'm crazy, I guess.
Channeling that spirit of crazy, Miss Faye is back in the news. Despite no political experience and her advanced age.
I figured this would be the only time I'm going to have to run. I don't want to be 99 and run.
Crimes like the one outside her door and elsewhere.
I'm just upset about what's going on, especially in Chinatown.
Are just some reasons why she's entering the District 3 City Council race.
It's so much crime. Well, the police station is a block away. It's just like they're not scared. They have no
scared of you.
Born and raised in Oakland, Miss Faye tried running in 2020, but says COVID stopped her from campaigning. 4 years later, she believes homelessness in the city has not improved.
You're running for office, say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. If you can't keep your word, you should be punished.
And wants to see more focus on youth and education.
That's what I would love to do, too, give the teachers a bonus, because they are really, really they're having a hard time. They're having a hard time with these kids because they have no discipline. Pulling them in and make them want to change their life instead of seeing them the next time in a casket.
While Miss Faye admits she may not have all the answers,
I'm going to do the best I can, and if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to ask somebody.
Okay, I like that.
I'm going to ask my community.
She's vowing to serve her community with the same honesty and fearlessness the world saw in 2022.
I think God is on my side this time. I think I can make it.
We're going to go with mixed bag.
Yes.
Mixed bag for sure.
Yeah. I'm all for Miss Faye. I think that it's great that she'll be able to lean on her community. This could be like a real community position on the city council if she were to get elected. So, good on her for stepping out there and doing it. And we shall see. We'll track.
So the one thing I did like when she said, she's like, if I don't know something, I'm just going to ask somebody else. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, lady. Good idea.
Right.
We need a little more of that. We need a little more of the I don't have the answers kind of politician, I think.
Yeah, when was the last time you heard that from a politician, right? That kind of humility.
Well, I mean, that's, the job of, like, for example, the president is primarily to hire the right people and delegate and listen to the advisors. People don't understand that that's mostly what the fuck, most presidents, right? Like Barack Obama probably wasn't actually making all the decisions, right? He had He had a Wall Street up in there making the decision. So not great.
Of course,
not great.
Yeah, you have a cabinet, and you have your national security advisors and council, right? And you have all sorts of other bodies that are doing the Joint Chiefs, right? You have plenty of people and advising you. Not usually the same at city council and the local level. That's one thing.
But if you reach out, if you reach out around the neighborhood or around your community and say, hey, here's an issue I don't understand, you probably get a couple people come talk to you for sure.
Very much so. It's more just at City Hall and knowing the ins and outs of government, having staff, having support and staff that are competent and can get things done. It's not very common in city governments and in local governments. It's why you can see $400,000 getting embezzled from a PTA, right? There's just not a lot of people minding the ship and helping these folks who get elected to do the work, right? They suddenly get elected and they realize they don't know how to do the work, right? So we need to help them. We need to give them the tools and give them more resources. Frankly,
I get the feeling this lady's going to have no problem staffing up. I think she's a likable sort.
If she wins, she got to win first.
Yep. So I like this next story because it's about cats and dogs, but only kind of. This is another thing. I think we're just going to let this one ride. This is a twofer here. One, never mind. It's a twofer. And it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, depending how you feel.
Cat owners know their affinity for cardboard boxes, but a Utah couple learned the importance of making sure they're not still in the box before you ship it. That's exactly what they did, accidentally sending their cat 600 miles in an Amazon package. They say they searched for hours for the cat, putting up hundreds of flyers until they got a call a week later from the company that implanted the cat's microchip.
I just couldn't even believe that she was in California. I thought it was a prank. Like, I still hard to wrap my brain around.
Oh my goodness. The cat was shipped in a large box of shoes that the couple was returning. Thankfully, Amazon employee Brandy found the cat and took care of her until the cat could be reunited with her owners.
We are so thankful for Brandy and for everything that she did for our kitty. Like, it was just the best, because I know that
Brandy seems great.
Under other circumstances
Good blue hair and all
that she wouldn't have been found. We're just so happy to have her.
They used to make fun of California blue hairs because sometimes older women would dye their hair and it would come out blue, but that's not the case anymore.
I mean, the obvious question is what was going on while the box was being shipped. The cat obviously went 6 days without food or water in the box, but thankfully she is doing physically okay. And this is quite the transition from cats. Technology is supposed to make our lives easier. Sometimes it doesn't work out as anticipated, whether that be a total failure or just not really solving one of life's more pressing struggles. We have examples of both. Remember the idea that Amazon was going to make it easier than ever to have your package dropped at your feet? They were testing out these prime air in the Central Valley. The project lasted for a decade. Had its limitations. It could only drop light orders under 5 pounds. No big bags of dog food for my pup or heavy exercise equipment.
There goes the China.
What type of things was your daughter ordering?
Well, it has to be under, I think it's 5 pounds. So it has to be small things and it can't be breakable.
The most ordered item last week was actually a toothbrush.
Oh, thank God they solved that problem.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Amazon sent an email to customers Monday saying the drones are done, effective immediately, but Amazon will still keep the delivery operations going in Texas. And in case you've ever thought, boy, I wish I had a flame-throwing robot dog. Every day. I know.
Oh, it's 9,420. Did you see that as the Elon?
An Ohio company has
420 is a funny number because it's the weed number. You know that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Desperately searching for, Paul.
Oh, maybe.
Terminator.
Yes.
The company Throwflame says it's the first flamethrower-wielding robot dog. Are they sure?
Well,
they can safely guess. It's operated by Wi-Fi or Bluetooth.
Whoa!
It shoots fire up to 30 feet. What could go wrong?
Yes. Oh, man.
Yes, what could go wrong? I guess there are some practical applications the company says wildfire control and prevention.
I was just about to
creation.
Maybe they are going to use this, and it does job. Or you could clear your driveway of snow and ice, they say, but it's over $9,000. Battery only lasts for an hour.
Wow.
I know you would buy this thing.
It's 9,000.
The battery only lasts for an hour, but what about the flame or the
fire,
napalm or whatever?
I'm concerned. Does the fire just automatically go out when the battery dies?
The fuel, that fuels the fire, you still got to replace that. That's not electrical. My goodness. Yeah. What practical applications? Okay. I guess
clearing the snow on your driveway.
I mean, clearing forest, I guess, with by flame throwing it. That's just, it seems a little excessive.
Also, like, I just don't trust it because it says $9,420. I feel like it's probably just $9,000, and they're like, oh, you know what we could do? We could put the weed number on it.
Put the weed number on there. That'll get some stoners late at night buying our $9,420.
Like it's gonna be like some tech asshole who thinks it's cool that it says the 420 number, but would call the fucking cops on you if they thought that you were smoking weed on your front porch, even though it's totally legal to get high.
I used it to light my bong, man. Yeah, that's a little frightening. I mean, really, I can understand some practical applications for something like that, but it'd be for the fire department. It would be them using it, right? It wouldn't be something publicly available at the sharper image for 9420, right? Like, this is not something you would just pick up at the store or at the mall. This is something that would have a government or some sort of, public agency application, not something for you or me or, our child to wield on the streets of San Jose or the South Bay.
If somebody gave that to me, I wouldn't even feel like comfortable selling it to someone else. Like, I'd be like, can we return this?
Yeah, right. Can I get a gift receipt for this? And get some granola? Like, what the hell?
Like, this is it looks like a terrorism robot, right?
Right. Well, hopefully, this is not the dog that they use to find cats in shipping containers and packages, right? Burn them to death. That'd be frightening.
I like that they mentioned that it is controllable over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth.
Or Bluetooth, either or.
All right, well, that's the show. You want to read the show out?
Well, why not? As long as my throat holds out. Thank you, as always, Producer Dave, for manning the dials and the clips for us. And thank you, listener and viewer, for joining us. As always, we do this show, this Downballot experiment, every Tuesday night, except when we don't, like last week, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. It's followed by public comment. You need to tune in for that. The red light is already on, and it's going to be super spicy, I am sure. Remember, as always, that you need to get vaccinated because COVID is still out there. You should wear a mask in public, especially at Costco, but pants are totally optional, although you can get those at Costco. This is the councilman and Producer Dave wishing you a wonderful week. Enjoy Audible Smoke and enjoy public comment and everything we have to offer. Peace.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the the show tonight is down and dirty and 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course. Shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band, enjoy the band, and enjoy the band. Yeah. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do.
Yes, I gotta say,
thank you, Bob, we